Hey everyone, our 2G notes are going to talk about numbers and how we use them with our inequalities. So we're kind of putting together a few pieces from level 1 where we studied inequalities, we studied the value of integers. We're now adding on this layer of using vocabulary to help us know if it's a positive or a negative number. So that's what we're putting all together in 2G. Before we start, I think it will be helpful if you draw yourself a number line. So please pause this video. I don't really mind what your number line has on it. I do believe that you should have 0 somewhere on it. That will allow you to then compare some positive numbers and some negative numbers. But I want you to pause this video right now, build yourself a number line, because that will be very helpful as we start to read through these examples. Pause your video. The first problem we're going to look at is that you are leading a trip in Glasgow, Scotland. As you explore the city, you give a tour of a part of the city built on a hill. All right, that gives us kind of a visual. And if I wanted to jot that down, I know that there's like a hill I'm looking at, right? At the top of the hill, a building A stands 6 feet above sea level. So I know there's a building right here, and we're going to call that building A. And it looks like it's 6 feet above sea level. I'm going to underline that. That probably will be important for later. At the bottom, you visit a park, B, 12 feet below sea level. So B looks like it's down here. And it looks like it's 12 feet below sea level. That's probably going to be important for later. Write an inequality, so I have to remember what an inequality is, using both of these tourist sites. So I'm looking at my two numbers, and they both look positive. But if I look at my vocabulary, above sea level means that I have a positive 6, and below sea level means that I have a negative 12. And then I'm going to use an inequality to talk about which is larger. So when we talk about a larger number on the number line, you know this, a larger number on the number line is always farthest to the right. So if you use your hands to help you, anything to the left is getting smaller, anything to the right is getting bigger. So I know that positive 6 is farther to the right on the number line, which means it's bigger. I can use my inequality symbol showing that my positive 6 is bigger. Now, if you're confused on number lines, inequalities, or integers, you're going to want to go back to level 1 or level 2 and just recap some of those notes. You don't have to start over, but just refresh your memory on these 3 pieces because, like I said, we're starting to actually put them together. Let's look at the next one. During your travels, you spend 1 day in New York. During your adventure, you take the subway around town and visit 4 major New York boroughs. The subway is 14 feet below sea level, while the streets are located at sea level. Write an inequality using your time exploring the streets of New York and riding the subway. So this is a tricky one. I have 14 feet below sea level. I know below means negative. So I have a negative 14 that I'm dealing with. I also have a location at sea level. I know that sea level is 0. I'm now going to use an inequality to compare which is larger. And on my number line, 0 is farther to the right than negative 14, which is farther to the left, which means 0 is a larger number. So I'm going to write my inequality so that 0 is the larger number. Now remember, if you are struggling with the inequality symbols or using a number line, this would be a good spot to visit level 1 to help you. In the next part of our notes, we are going to look at elevations. This is kind of the last piece of our notes. We're almost finished. Flip your page over. Elevations of cities around the world have been recorded as the following. I have Chicago at 3 feet below sea level. Los Angeles as 8 feet above sea level, and Toronto as 5 feet above sea level. Now there's a lot of vocabulary in here I'm going to circle. I have below sea level, above sea level, and above sea level. I know above means that my numbers are positive, and below means my numbers are negative. In letter A, we are going to create a visual model. A visual model is just a number line. So we're going to create a number line and we are going to label where Chicago is located, Los Angeles is located, and Toronto. As we do that, take your time right now to make your number line. So you're going to have a straight line, you're going to have arrows, you're going to put your dashes, and you're going to start with your scale. To figure out your scale, I know that I need to fit 3, 5, and 8 on my scale. But I have a negative 3, a positive 8, and a positive 5. So I'm going to have you pause your video to make your number line right now. When you're ready, you can unpause your video and we can see how your number line turned out. I chose for my number line to count by ones. That allowed me to make sure that I fit everything on there. And I wanted to make sure I had negative 3, positive 5, and positive 8 because that's what my my problem asked for. I also decided to kind of change my numbering. I labeled every dash, but they go up and down, kind of like that. So take some time if you don't think my number line looks right, check my work. I'm then going to start labeling. Chicago is located at 3 below sea level. So I'm going to put a plot on negative 3. Los Angeles is 8 feet above sea level. So I'm going to put a plot on above sea level at positive 8. I then have one more at 5 above sea level, so I'm going to put a plot on 5. I then want to make sure I go back and label these. So I'm going to label these as Chicago with a CH, Toronto maybe with a T, and Los Angeles with an LA. The last piece of this problem is just asking me what I used for my numbers. So looking here, what integer was used to represent the elevation of Toronto? Toronto was 5 feet above sea level, so it was positive 5. What integer was used to represent sea level? Sea level is just 0. You're going to complete the next few problems using your same information. Feel free to look back at your notes and you'll be awesome.